Welcome back, everybody. It's me from the future, here to talk about Bitcoin. We have Bitcoin on the 1 week chart. Looks like the price is around $27,678. Some moving averages very quickly. We have the blue moving average is the 200-week moving average. We're still above that blue moving average. Now that's more like the mean of the price. As you can see, it's always gradually moving upward. Right now, the 200-week simple moving average is falling at around 25,700, okay? And you'll notice it's always kind of creeping up as time goes by. Whereas our short-term 50-week moving average, this purple one, that's the one that slammed down and really kind of, put an end, and we found resistance there. But we broke through that as well. We've broken through the 200-week and now the 50-week as well. The 100-week moving average, the simple moving average, is the orange one. Now this one is interesting because I think this could be a target for us. A possible final push, in my opinion, could be up to the 33,500 range. And that would find us up at this 100-week simple moving average, okay? Now it doesn't mean we are going there. It just means that is a probability. Let's take a look at trend lines. Now please bear with me. There's a lot going on here, but let's talk about it. Now we were talking about that 33,500 range. Well, it looks like we're really kind of pinned at the moment under this trend line, this lower descending trend line, which is also a falling wedge. It falls into a kind of a falling wedge. So if you can see clearly here, the price is just going to be ping-ponging in this falling wedge. As the falling wedge gets tighter and tighter, the price will follow along with it. So this is why I have some targets drawn out. One at around 11,500, one at more like 8,000. Scary numbers, but probabilities. With a falling wedge, you could see a price breaking out downwards or upwards. In my opinion, more like a final capitulation breakout. We could do something like this where we ping pong around, hit a support, come back down, and make our way down to this 11,500 range. And perhaps we could bounce around in here again. We're in this wedge, we get squeezed, we break through. And that's where this secondary 8,000 plus target would be. Again, this is an estimation. It's not going to exactly hit this point on February 19th in 2024. No, it's going to be in this range of an area of time frames. Okay, so how does that look though? Let's take a look. Let's measure it very quickly. What would that look like if we came from that upper part of the upper trend line and down to this yellow trend line? 33% down, okay? So that would be a final capitulation kind of move, something like that, right? Okay. Now, why do I have these trend lines here? This yellow trend line, this blue trend line, and even this red one down here, which is Black Swan event. Well, as always, I follow these quite closely and have used them for years in stocks as well as crypto. They are just an ongoing long-term lower floor. As you can see, there's touch points where the price has found support on any of these three trend lines throughout time. So back in March of 2020, of course, COVID happened and we plunged down to this yellow trend line. And of course, that's why I found support down here way back in March of 2017 as well, with a similar move, mind you, okay? So again, 1 and 2, perhaps this will be the third at the end of our falling wedge. Okay. Now, let's take a look at a couple of other things. Why is all this happening here? Okay. A month before the halving. If you see, I have the halving that's proposed to happen at around April 14th, 2024. Here is the previous halving, which was May 11th of 2020. But notice what happened back in 2019 before the halving. We had a midterm push, a little baby bull run. We hit a peak, and then we came all the way back down to touch that yellow trend line, that support trend line, which is very similar. I'm going to circle them. Okay. This move is likely this move. Okay. These moves are very similar. Let's zoom out even more. 2017 bull run, 2019 midterm relief rally bull run, whatever you want to call it. 2021 bull run, and now the current midterm relief rally, baby bull run. Okay. Halving. The location of these halvings is very, very important because, again, all of the previous halvings have had this kind of a move before the halving, and they've all crashed into the halving. The price plummets down to this ongoing support line every time, okay? And then finally starts to move up after the halving. Look for this push down a month or so before, and then buy right before the halving. Let's take a look further back in time. What did we have? What do you know? The 2013 bull run. There she is in all of its glory. Then we had a big move up. Looked like things were looking good. Okay. And even right up to the halving there, we moved up, but we crashed into the halving. There's the move. But we still found our way up before the halving and still crashed down. I think if you bought anywhere in here, you're in great shape. But point is it's this same scenario where we're crashing down into the halving. And then in this case, we even continued to crash down right after the halving, right? So that whole time frame around the halving, like a month around the halving, was a devastating time if you were excited about the halving, right? It's more of a negative event. But I guess if you're buying low, yeah, it's a good event. But the narrative around the halving is always it's going straight up. So again, around the halving, a lot of volatility happening. Okay, so that was 2016, the halving that occurred in 2016. Okay, it was a great time frame. So I got in myself just in this area. That's when I first got into Bitcoin and Ethereum. And Litecoin as well. Of course, Litecoin. So there's a little quick analysis just so you understand where I'm coming from. Now, we talked about the negative aspect, the bearish aspect, and where the price could possibly go. Now, where can the price go if we broke through this upper resistance point, this falling wedge? Well, if we did find ourselves breaking out, of course, we found resistance here at the 29,300-ish range. I think it was somewhere around there. We did find resistance, and we've come down since then, right? So let's zoom in on that. Yep. So we found resistance, and we've been riding it down. But that doesn't mean we aren't going to find our way out of it. So if we, in a positive way, in a bullish way, found ourselves out, we could easily, once we break through, would mean some pretty quick moves. And we could find ourselves doing something like this. My point is 31.5, 33, those are all great points of resistance that we need to break through. However, there's not much that could keep us from continuing up to that 50,000 mark, right? And keep in mind where the halving is. Halving's over here. So we have some resistance over here. Let me draw a quick trend line. We've got some kind of resistance area, something like that. It doesn't have to be perfect right now. So we could find ourselves hitting that as resistance as well, around 43, or continuing up and hitting that 50,000 long-term upper trend line, upper resistance. So we've got quite a few points of resistance. I'm going to get rid of this thing now. Too much going on. Similar to what happened back here, we found ourselves all the way up to these upper trend lines, right, in 2019. Okay, so let's imagine that, right? It would look very similar, and we'd reach that point, whether it's 43, whether it's 33, or whether it's 50. We would come straight back down because guess what? That's what we did in previous halvings. Maybe something like this until we found our resistance. Maybe something straight down to our target, one of these trend lines down here, okay? These long-term trend lines, right? Which is at $7,800, $10,000, okay? And even maybe the top of this falling wedge could be the final support, which is around 13,000, right? Okay. So again, this is a fractal based occurrence. Okay. It's happened before every single halving. The same scenario. How it looks is going to be a little different. Maybe it's going to be a little bigger. Again, like we talked about, there's many resistance points where we could find resistance, and this peak could be smaller or as big as 50 grand. But point is we would find our way back down again to one of these lower trend lines. If I measured with the measuring tool from this peak right here out to this projected next peak, it would be around, what do we have dates here? Like 1,430 days, something to that effect, which is around 4 years, okay? So that's a projected date for the next peak. So looking here, this makes a lot of sense, right? And I'll do one quick drawing. Maybe we do this and come around, and then we find our way up, right? That's the kind of thing that's going to happen. Where the peak is, that's another story. But this is what we're looking at, okay? Replicating these two fractals within each of the 4-year cycles is the story we're telling, okay? Okay, so that's it. Always remember, buy low, sell high, and never sell at a loss. Have a good one, everybody.